Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of the Full Ascend podcast. I am one of the hosts. I am the dad, the pops, the old man, Dr. Mark Leonard.
And I am the understudy. I am the protege. I am Andrew Leonard, your other host today, and I'm excited because this is one where really we're going to lean on your expertise because this is where I'm still learning and growing. We're going to pick up off of where we left off last week, correct?
Yes, we are. And just as a reminder, we go through a series of topics, and the topic that we just finished with is family, and now we're moving into this idea of finance. Now, finance doesn't mean just budget, and it doesn't mean that we're going to be looking at how to get money to start your business. It encapsulates all of that, including the founders, the entrepreneurs, those that are trying to climb the corporate ladder. Let's just think of finance as the money coming into your home. However you create, however you do that, we're going to talk about different strategies, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one.
I mean, I hope so. I like I said, I'm going to lean on your expertise here because I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. I feel like I'm very young, very, I mean, new to experiencing all of this, right? I'm young. I've got a young family. I've started a couple businesses and I'm working on a couple businesses and so this is where I guess I have a lot to learn.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one thing that I've learned about business ownership is that there is always a lot to learn. I never feel like I'm fully done, I'm fully baked, that I've got it all. In fact, it seems like every time I make a business decision and do something in one of our corporations, that I'm constantly learning. And I guess that would be maybe one of the things I want to really discuss is that learning process in business. Whenever I'm coaching someone, and it doesn't matter again if they're an entrepreneur, if they are a founder, if they are a CEO, if they are looking to climb up the corporate ladder, or maybe they're looking to make a change, we always start with some foundational pieces of what does success look like? What if you were to just write it out? What would you want the next 6 months to look like? Now, notice I didn't ask, what do you want? What is your 5-year plan? And this is the reason why. Andrew, 5 years ago, did you think you'd be sitting here right now?
Not even close. 5 years ago, my goodness, my whole life was down such a different path that I mean, I never would have thought I'd be owning the business that I own for my asphalt stuff. I never thought I'd be doing this. I never thought that I'd be living where I'm living. Like everything is so different than what I envisioned it to be.
And yet so many people are out there going, oh, you need to create your 5-year plan. Are you kidding me? You know where you're going to be in 5 years? That's amazing. Now, do I like to use a strategy similar to that? Oh, absolutely. I don't want to discount it completely. For instance, I asked, what would success look like in 6 months? Okay, you could even bring it out a little bit further to a year or maybe even 2 years. But the reality is you need to be malleable through the process because things change. Things absolutely change constantly. And if you're not well versed in change, business growth, business development, and climbing the corporate ladder, not going to work out. Change is going to
Definitely.
be the constant.
Yeah, and I'd say that's exactly what I've experienced so far. I thought I was going down one path, I go down another, and then I start one, and then another opportunity presents itself, and here I am, trying to work on two businesses at the same time, trying to make sure we're financially stable and set to be able to get through this time. And that's, I think, one of the things that I really want to talk about and to figure out is, okay, how do you get through this process? Because like you said, you want to talk about the whole process, starting with, the next 6 months, seeing how it's going, working your way through, the whole, from starting point to wherever you're trying to go. And that has been a very eye-opening experience for me over the last 6 months is, hey, I'm trying to start two separate businesses. at the same time, I'm trying to not lose it on my kids all the time because I'm so stressed about money, because I am trying, I every time I think it's going one way, it ends up going another way. And, I am trying to do it smart where I'm letting my business build itself, but yeah, I'm still having to put money into it. And I don't, I have an idea of where I want it to go, don't know exactly how to get it there. This is going to be a really interesting series, because this is where I am in the midst of learning all of this for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that when I'm coaching entrepreneurs, business owners, or just folks like you and I and everyone else, is I really like to step back and try to figure out, what does someone envision, not for their business, but for themselves? What does the very best of them look like? And start to do a check in. And so, you know what? Maybe, hey, Andrew, we're going to do a little bit of coaching here real quick, because
Awesome.
I
Let's
think
go for it.
let's go for it. I love it. Let's just kind of show what this looks like. Not because I'm sitting here trying to sell my coaching, but I think one will be
No,
helpful to you. But I think that a lot of other people will find this process very, very helpful. So let's just look at. Do you want to focus on your personal life or your professional life?
let's go professional life.
Professional, it is awesome. And that is always one of the things I start off with is, okay, where do you want to go? And as a coach, if I walk into the room and I think I have all the answers, I'm not a coach. I'm a dictator who thinks they know what's best for another person. But my goal is to draw out the best of that person. And so, all right, so I give them options. So we're going to start with the professional side. All right, over the next 6 months, what do you want to give me 2 to 3 goals that you would love to accomplish over the next 6 months in your business? Which business? You got two of them. So which one do you want to focus on?
Let's focus on the asphalt one.
All right. What is the name of that
Let's do that.
company?
Summit Stripe is my asphalt company.
Summit Stripe or Summit Striping?
Stripe, Summit Stripe, and seal coating, but Summit
Oh,
Stripe is it's Summit Stripe LLC. Technically, I'm kind of doing a DBA as Summit Stripe and seal coating.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to focus on Summit Stripe over the next 6 months. What would you say are 2 to 3 major goals that you would like to accomplish just over the next 6 months?
I would like to
Okay, I
get
want you
to.
to pause right there. And this is the reason why. If you're listening to this, did you notice that pause? How many of you, if you were asked that question, you don't have that formulated in your head? So, strategy number one is begin to identify exactly where you want to go over the short run, the next couple of months. And if you can't just throw it out there, you need to do some deeper work. These are the types of things that we do in our group coaching. I want to give you some of this value right here. And I think it's going to be beneficial to anyone. So, okay, so what were you going to say? One of your major goals for the next 6 months?
Yeah, for the next 6 months, one of my big goals is to be the top in SEO on Google My Business. That is one of my biggest goals, because I think that's going to allow me to not have to do outreach and outbound sales. Hopefully, at that point, leads will be coming to me.
Okay, so if you were to really focus on one skill that you need to learn over the next 6 months to make that SEO goal a reality, what would it be?
It would probably be getting better at asking my customers to give me reviews and following up to make sure that I get the reviews, so it helps boost my profile.
What percentage of your customers did you follow up with to get a review in the last week?
I have not asked one customer for a review in the last week.
Okay, so then I'm going to go back and revisit your goal of the next 6 months. You want to be huge. You want to be the de facto leader in your area for SEO, and yet you're not actually going out and asking for the review. Andrew, why not? What do you feel is stopping you from doing that?
The feeling of how do I say this? A little bit of uncomfortable, which is funny because I've done so many sales and I've always asked for, I do car sales and I'm told that I need to ask for the review. Ask for the review. I, excuse me, I, all sales that I've done, I've always asked for the review, but I almost feel uncomfortable because it's my business now, because I'm asking for them to back up my work, not just my company's work or, the company I was working for. Now I'm asking them to say, hey, you know, I am good enough. What I did was good enough. And I guess just a little bit of like fear that if I, if the job wasn't done exactly how they wanted, or I guess just not knowing exactly what the reviews are going to be, I feel like I did a great job and I always back up my work. So if they had anything that they didn't like, they can absolutely come to me about that. But I haven't had any of that, so I'd assume that everybody's liked what they've done, but I just haven't, I don't know. I haven't gone and asked for it.
Notice that crazy, crazy word that you just used. You just said, I assume that they ... But you don't actually know. May I offer a perspective on why you want to ask for a review that is not tied to your SEO goal?
Absolutely.
All right. So think about this. If you look at it from this perspective, you could go to a customer and you say, hey, would you be willing to give me a review? We're looking to grow and expand, and we would love to get some feedback. Would you be willing to offer that? And if they say yes, great, you got it. Here's the link. And do you mind if I check back in a couple days just to make sure if you have any questions, right? So now you're asking permission to even come back if they don't get it done. One, they now have pressure to get it done because you've already asked permission to follow up. The second thing is, let's say they go, no, I really don't want to offer a review. You're going to take it personal, but notice the power of the no. They say, no, I really don't want to offer a review. Your follow-up now is, you know what? I really appreciate your honesty and your candor. Is there something that I could have done better so that you would have been willing to offer a review next time? Now you just improved your business. You turned their no into your power. Because
I like that.
The only way you're going to do this is to get the data and the information.
Yeah.
Which brings me to feedback is just data. It's not about you. It's not a personal thing. It's a data piece. Maybe they're having a bad day. Well, no, I don't have the time. All right. Is there someone else that maybe I could talk with that would be willing to do that? Well, no, I'm the only one. Okay. You know what? I want to make sure that we gave you 5-star service. Is there anything I could do to improve if I was able to do this job over for you? So now you've taken their no, I don't have the time, to again asking that follow-up. What could I have done to improve? Whatever business you own, and by the way, as a coach, I literally rate myself at the end of every coaching session, at the end of every podcast, at the end of every day, at the end of almost everything I do. I begin to rate myself to understand how well I am doing. And it's just data. It's nothing more than that. What's fascinating is the trend. Data is one piece. Trend is what you're looking for. So stop looking at your feedback or your lack of feedback as a data piece and start looking at it as a trend.
That's really smart. Yeah, I definitely need to be better at that. And I think that's something that I will work on over the next week, is making sure that I go out and I'm asking for these reviews and that I'm getting better information there so that I can hopefully trend in the direction that I'm wanting to go with my business, right? So.
All right. Now, Andrew, if I was coaching you right now, I would have said, really? You're going to reach out to him this week. And I would have followed up with something like, who? By when? Don't answer that right now. I don't want you to answer that on a podcast, but I want you to answer that in your heart. Who are you going to reach out to and by when? Then get it in your calendar. Get it in your calendar, get it as a reminder. Make sure it's something that you see every day in your morning planning. Oh, this is the person I need to reach out to. I promised myself I would get it done by this date, this time.
Yeah, and I think that that brings up such a great point here because that's something that oof, man, I've had to learn. I've hated calendars. When I first got married, Camille was the kind of person that would make a list about her list, and then she'd have everything. Like, we had the calendar up in our kitchen area so that the whole month was planned out, and it drove me bonkers because I'm like, hey, look. My day's gonna go how my day's gonna go. We're gonna see what happens, and it's always worked out for me, and it's always gonna work out for me, and well, it's gonna be great. Oh my goodness, getting to this point in my life where my kids are older, so we've got all these different sporting events and and I'm working on these two different businesses and trying to get the time for, the appropriate amount of time dedicated to each one. The amount of things I have let slip has been crazy. And the amount of times I've been like, or the amount of times, I'm getting older, my memory's just not as good as it used to be. I mean, I'm not like 80 or anything, right? But like the amount of times on a Sunday, Camille will be like, hey, what is your plan this week? What are you wanting to get done? Oh, I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z for this and X, Y, and Z over here and, and ABC, wherever. And she's like, all right, sounds great. And then the next day comes around and I sit at my computer and go, what was my plan? I don't remember what I was going to do. And I am learning how incredibly valuable and important the calendar actually is.
There's a motto that we used to have in our home about the calendar. I don't know if you remember it, but
I
we would
do.
say, you do? What would
Oh,
we
yeah.
say?
If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist or just something along those lines.
That's exactly it. If it's not on the
Yeah.
calendar, it doesn't exist, which is actually the very reason that whenever you and I start talking about, oh, hey, when are we going to record this? When are we going to do that? I'm always saying, okay, send me a calendar invite because I have to
Yeah.
get it on my calendar. Well, it's twofold here. One, then I know it's on your calendar and it's on my calendar.
Yeah.
And now we have responsibility to each other. And
Yeah.
have we adjusted and changed things? Sure, we have. Hey, can we reschedule this? Absolutely. But for the most part, that is a strategy that we have utilized over and over and over again. And very vital to success is being intentional.
Definitely. And one of the things that I have really learned has been very valuable and important for me. I actually heard it on a podcast with another coach actually, and they talked
I'm
about how
hurt.
their
I'm so hurt. You're cheating on me. I'm your old man. I'm your dad. You're supposed to like help me out in my old age, and you are going to another coach. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So in this podcast, this coach talked about how his work calendar and his personal calendar it doesn't exist. It's all one calendar. It is one calendar. And that way he knows, hey, this is what I've got scheduled here. I've got my family stuff here. And it's become really important because his assistants have been able to say, no, we understand that on this part of the calendar, he's at a T-ball game. So there's nothing we can do about it. We are scheduling around that. And so I think that that's been really important for me as well, is to put them all together so that I know, I don't accidentally overlap with, my kids' volleyball game and my meeting that I'm supposed to have. They don't overlap because it's all in one place. And so, I don't have to worry about missing my kid's event because when it comes down to it, as incredibly important as my businesses are and how, and, that's what's going to allow me, and it is allowing me to live the life that we want to live for my family. That means that I want to be there for my family's event, right? I'm working to live. I'm not living to work, right? And that's, I think, what's so important about having the calendars put together is so that I know that I'm going to be where I want to be, where I need to be, which is for my family, and everything else can go around that.
That is the exact strategy that I've used for years. And I currently, on my calendar, I have my personal, I have this business, I have another business calendar, and I have Becky, my wife. I have her calendar on there too, because sometimes she puts something so that on her calendar, and maybe it's something big or that she needs. Now I know not to schedule something during that time so that I can support her. And people say, well, if you fill up your calendar, No, what I'm doing is I am being intentional about where I spend my time.
Yeah.
I but you can't be intentional unless you know where your time is going. And the other thing that we do is we'll sit down each week, Becky and I, and we'll look at, okay, what do you have coming up? What and then I have learned, because she's going to school, I will ask, do you have a test this week? Because that means I know two things. One, the day before she will be very stressed. I need to know so that I can support her further, which means I need to adjust some of my meetings to support her. And then if it was like last Friday, she had a test, two quizzes, and a major assignment, all due on Friday. Well, by the end of that, she's toast. And so I told her, guess what? I have date night planned. I left,
Nice.
I asked, hey, would it be beneficial if I left during the day so you could just focus on that? She said, yes. Great. So I arranged my day, my meetings, my things to do during the day while she was in her scheduled activities. And then in the evening was date night. It's not about filling up my calendar. It's about protecting my time. I want to protect the things that are the most important to me. Date night with my wife, spending time with on the appropriate activities for the week, and planning it out and being willing to say, no, I can't meet right then. I've told you no many times. No, I can't meet them. So I protect what matters most. Date time with my wife, and making sure that I am attending to those activities and priorities that will move the needle in my business, that will move the needle in my personal life. Another non-negotiable on my calendar, the gym. The gym. And people say, well, when do you have time to work? You know what? I work faster because I go to the gym. I work faster because I work out. I work with more intention because I have a date night planned. So if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. And then you're reactionary. And then what decisions are you making? It changes.
It does change, and that's exactly where we've been, is trying to balance it all without the calendar has been a problem. One of the things that we have been really struggling with is she works from home, I'm working from home. The kids are at home, especially now that it's summer. We only had daycare a couple times a week before, so like, we're trying to balance each of us getting our work done, but also paying attention to the kids, making sure that their needs are met. And it has just been it's some days it feels like my work just falls by the wayside. Some days she's felt the same way. So now what we've started implementing is in the morning, we meet together and say, okay, hey, what does your day look like? And we each discuss what periods of time we need to make sure we either have the office, or somebody else needs to worry about the kids or whatever it might be, so we can all get our stuff done, which has been helpful. But I think including her calendar and my calendar would make, I guess, streamline that, because we're meeting about it, and I've got my calendars put together, but I never thought exactly how you're saying, hey, you know what? Mom's calendar is on there with yours. Camille's needs to be on there with mine as well, because then it'll be easy. Yeah, we'll probably still talk about it every morning, but at least we can see it and we know exactly what each other needs.
And now you're supporting each other because you're a team. You're a team. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you don't work when she has a meeting. It means that you need to assess what type of work you could do during that. Or maybe that's your family time. That's when you take the kids. That's when you make them a peanut butter and pickle sandwich. That's
Yeah.
gross.
Ooh.
I grew up on a
Ooh, that
peanut
is
butter and
gross.
pickle sandwich, and I have no idea. I haven't thought about that monstrosity what were my parents thinking that they fed me that? What was I
Hey,
thinking that that's what I wanted?
I have had Amelia ask me for that multiple times, and I've always told her no, because I'm like, no, that's not a thing, honey. She loves pickles. So for her, she's just like, yeah, I want a peanut butter and pickle sandwich. And I
Well,
told her no, but maybe I'll give it a shot.
you blame me. This was Papa's favorite food as a kid.
Oh, that's terrible.
That is terrible. Hey,
So,
yeah.
uh, one of the things that becomes really difficult, and having a calling has changed this a little bit, But, you're trying to get multiple businesses going. My wife also works. We're trying to balance family time and everything. How do you make sure that, and besides the calendar, because I understand that, you put church on the calendar, it's non-negotiable, you're going to be there, but it's really hard to make sure that you're following through. You're trying to grow these businesses. It feels, especially in the early stage, you're grinding so hard, you're just exhausted. You add in, being a parent, you add in everything else in life, making sure you actually have the mental, not necessarily the time, but the mental capacity to read your scriptures, to remember to pray morning and night, to, whatever,
Mhm.
all the other things. How do you add that in and make sure that, like, okay, it's on the calendar, you've got the time, but what about the mental part of it?
I prioritize. So there are non-negotiables for me. It is morning gym. It is, making sure I am eating enough protein and healthy carbs, vegetables, things of that nature. I know it sounds silly, but that's it's literally what I do. I prioritize those things. And then I prioritize, and I have a checklist every morning on, I have an app that I utilize that I put in. Did I read my scriptures? Did I say my daily prayer or my morning prayer? Did I plan my day out? And then at the end of the day, I have a reminder on my phone to go back and journal. And I look at my day and then I begin to rate myself. And again, this is a trend line. This is not about did I do it well or did I not? Recently, we put on 3,000 miles of driving in a week with just going to different family events. And I remember being in a hotel room and my alarm goes off to do my daily journal. And I started rating myself. And I remember I was like, dang, Beck, I didn't do very well. I don't feel like I moved the needle on the things that mattered. And she just quietly looks at me and she says, really, did we get here safely? Yeah. Did we just spend time? Um, did we just spend time in Las Vegas supporting a granddaughter? Yeah. She says, you don't feel like that was the right needle to move? And she said, I think you need to put this in perspective of the day. There are just some days that you're going to think, oh, why couldn't I have done more, accomplished more? But there's other days that the very best thing you can do was the best for the day. And I've really had to think about that a lot lately is what was my best for the day given the circumstances.
Man, I have been there so many times where I had a day where I'm like, what did I even get done? I feel like I didn't do anything, but yet it was exactly what needed to happen that day.
Yeah.
Whether it was, recently I bought this machine for my asphalt business and the tires were covered in asphalt, in seal. So as you try to stripe with it, it would just and your line would be all terrible. And it took me, like, no joke, 6 hours to use a screwdriver to, like, dig all of this stuff off my tires to get it all off. And I walked away at the end, I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, I feel like I've wasted so much time." But the problem is my lines weren't gonna be straight if I didn't get it done. It felt like a waste of time. It definitely didn't make me any money, but it'll definitely make sure that, my next job looks even better. And
See,
so,
take the time
yeah.
it takes so it takes less time. If you didn't fix that, take the time it takes to fix those tires, you go to your next job and it's wiggly. We go back to the beginning of this podcast where I was asking you about the feedback and they
Yeah.
go, yeah, what could you do better? Maybe not paint a line like Mater, you know,
Yeah.
maybe, maybe
Yeah.
it needs to be straight. Okay. Then
Yeah.
you took the time it takes. So it takes less time. These strategies that we're talking about are the very things that we talk about in the full Ascend Brotherhood. And we are personally inviting you to come join us. Go to happinessbreakthrough.com and click on the link to join the Brotherhood. We would love to have you here. We do free coaching, just like what you just saw. We do free coaching. We have courses that are free. We have events that we do that are free. And there is also a paid tier, but we give a lot to you for free. The reason why is we believe
Oh,
that everyone deserves the help to help them get to that next level. And one of the things that we've heard about another men's group, I don't want to utilize her name or intonate, but let's just say they have a
yeah.
militant style. Our style is about hope. We want to give you the tools that give you hope, because business is hard. It's not for the faint. It's not for the faint
Yeah.
of heart. Business is hard. You should have hope along the way. And we give you real strategies, real tools, real connections to help you with that. And we would love to have you join the full Ascend Brotherhood.
Definitely. I actually got to go to lunch with one of our members the other day, and we chatted about how it's so like, the connection is really one of the most important parts, right? And we get to go build these connections to make sure that we aren't just working on finances, we aren't just working on family, we aren't just working on fitness, we're working on all of it, and we're doing it together where we have, a group of men who are going to hold you accountable, who are going to support you and love you and be there for you. So yeah, come join us, guys. It's just getting better all the time. We're constantly adding and growing and learning and developing, and the brotherhood is just it's just going like this, guys. You guys are gonna love it.
All right, you guys, thanks for listening in, and make sure that you like this, download it, and share it with someone that needs it. And until then, we hope that you fully
Full
ascend.
ascend. See you guys.